Hello, 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 everyone. Can you guys hear me? Just going to wait a few seconds here while I get set up. This is my first live stream on this channel. It's kind of impromptu. It's kind of last minute. Just decided to talk about Ableton Live today. And see what you guys think. Good, good. What's up, guys? Jeff, hang time. All right, let me get set up here and see. That's not working right. We will skip that. Okay. How many of you picked up Ableton 12? I have been checking it out today. It's pretty cool. There's a lot to it. We're going to talk about some of my favorite things. I didn't have enough time to really scour through every single nook and cranny and all the new features. As you can see, it looks pretty similar, but the first thing you're going to notice here on the left is this browser. There's a lot of cool AI tools and some interesting features in Ableton 12, and I think a lot of you are going to want to upgrade. Getting going here, taking a look at the top, you'll notice that all of this looks the same. You have a few different little icons. There's this new thing, this scale mode. I didn't have enough time to really dig into this one, but it is somewhat related to scales being in and out of clips. But before we get into like real detailed specifics, I kind of just wanted to give you an overview of what I noticed that was different off the bat. You know, you have, like I said, different icons here. Everything here looks pretty similar, but one of the things that you'll notice is when you start to go inside of things. So for example, if I just click in here, you're going to notice that the device view is a lot different, or, you know, the clip views are a lot different. Tabbing over to the mixer, for example, the mixer view looks a little bit different. And just off the top, one of the biggest things I saw was that you can really lift up the fader values. They're supposed to be more precise, and notice that the arrow moved to the left. That's one of the things that I did notice right off the bat. So getting in, before we get into all the device stuff, let's talk about the browser. This is crazy. I actually had been in the process of organizing my samples by type, and it's a lot of work. And this now actually can do it for you. What you could do is literally you can just click on, let me turn this on. You can click on your sound and organize things. So these are sounds from some of the NOS recordings sessions here that I've been saving for sample packs. And notice you have this filter section up here, and you can literally drop these down and start naming things. So like, see this one I tagged loop. You can look in the drums and it's a snare. If I look in here, this one's a clap. So really, like, for example, I would want to hit that one shot. What I found was kind of helpful was to kind of go one by one. If you opened these all up, it gets a little overwhelming. You can customize the groupings and all of this stuff. You can add tags, add groups, but this is very new for Ableton. You know, the browser itself was always decent, but not the best. There's always a lot of third-party tools that were a lot better. But yeah, this is really crazy. It is going to take some time to go through your sounds and really clean these things up. But when you do have the ability to do that, if you have the time, it's going to make things so much easier. Another really cool feature that I want to bring up is notice this little AI similar sounds generator right here. This is really cool. So for example, if I click this, now it's going to search my sound library to find similar sounds that sound like that kick. So it found all of these kick drums that pretty much sound close to it. I haven't got to play with this too much, but it already seems like a game-changing feature because you can audition. Not only can you audition here in the browser, but you can do hot swaps. So let's take, for example, this kick drum right here. You can actually, right here, if you look carefully, there's this little arrow, and you can go through and filter the same similar kick drums that I'm looking through in this window here. You don't actually have to use this AI search up at the top. For example, if I just go back to where I was, I have nothing here, but I can still hot swap between similar kicks. And then if I want to do audition, I can just do that right there, which is pretty crazy. So that's pretty game changing. I know that Loop Cloud has the same features. It has an AI tool, and that's pretty handy. Splice has not caught up to that, but pretty cool. Yeah, I know. I'm looking at the chat right here. It is pretty cool. There is something here. As you notice, I have this tuning window, and I have this groove pool, which the groove pool's always been there. But if you go to, let me find it. It was right here. This little drop-down arrow right here will allow you to turn this tuning on and off. Now, this is for some advanced type of tunings. I haven't got to explore this either. That's going to be something that I dive into later. But a lot of us are making music in standard tunings. From what I was reading in the release notes from Live 12, they were talking about loading up some file types of tunings, which seemed a little different for the music that I make. So I'll have to dig into that later and let you know what more I find. I did take some notes, and I have the release notes printed out here. I did highlight some things I really wanted to show you, so I didn't forget. So let me take a look at some of the other things that I have here. Now, there's been some changes to the navigation. As at the top, you'll see a navigate menu. One of the coolest things that you can do now is you can actually bring in the mixer right into this view. So if I'm in the arrangement view, if I go to view mixer, now I can get the arrangement view at the top and the mixer at the bottom. I can also get, you can turn it on and off here, right down here. And there's a key command for it, which I haven't completely memorized, but it is Shift Command M. So yeah, sometimes the key commands are different for me. So for me, it's Alt Option Command M. And that's pretty cool because now you don't have to tab over all the time. I'm a big key commands user when it comes to working in Ableton. It helps speed me up. And it's a cool feature that I thought was pretty unique. The problem is right now my screen is being minimized to show you the stream, but with the full screen that I have, it's much easier to use. Other things that you might notice that are slightly different here is notice that there's some options right here in this window that allow you to do the waveform vertical zoom, and it'll automatically zoom in on the audio waveforms. This is just audio, obviously not MIDI. You can then change the zoom type right here if you'd like. You can automatically have Ableton adjust the height and width. So this will keep it kind of like a telescopic view based on how wide your session is. So these are some new features right here, which are pretty cool. I left them off for now, but I'm going to be playing with that. I'd like to show you the ability to open up both. You can actually have both, like I said, the device and the clip view open at the same time by using this arrow right here, which was pretty cool. And you're probably looking at this and looking, oh, there's a bunch of new stuff here. Yes, there is. So they've added some really crazy stuff to the clips. First of all, you have a bunch of tools here. These are related to, obviously, MIDI clips only. And one of the things that you have is a bunch of different options to customize your MIDI. You can set it up to do arpeggiations, connect, ornament, the standard quantize, recombine, span, strum, time warp. It's more to humanize and transform your MIDI clips into something different. So for example, I just turned on the arpeggiator, and now you're hearing this kick drum. Let me just mute this bass going crazy. So I haven't figured out how to use this perfectly yet, but if you wanted to just let's take it back to what we had. And this is some kick drum that we just randomly picked off the, using this feature here that was similar to mine, going back to the original one that I had. There it is. And another crazy feature that I will mention, if you are browsing through samples and things like we've been doing, like if I'm going like this, you can actually go backwards and forwards. So it's literally auditioning everything you're doing. And you can, if you say you found a sound and then you went forward and you're like, you know what, that 10th sound we listened to was the one, you could just go back right here. That's game changing, I think. So let's go back to playing around with some of these new features. These are a bit complicated. Some of them, they're going to add, let me get my notes out because there's some interesting stuff. MIDI note editing operations. So, this is the... Okay, so arpeggiate splits up the chords into arpeggiated notes based on the chosen pattern settings. Connect fills empty gaps between successive notes or chords by adding and connecting notes with specific density, length, rate, and pitch settings. Ornament will add short strokes or flams, so to try to humanize your stuff. And then your quantize applies quantization. Recombine rearranges the properties of a series of notes so that the pitch, length, or velocity settings of one note in the series are applied to a different note. Span will adjust the lengths of the note times using legato, tenuto, or staccato timing. Strum applies an offset to a note for all successive notes in the chord. And then time warp will stretch. So lots of interesting things to play with there. I'm pretty sure that some things will work better with certain sounds than others. You also have these new Max for Live options, which I did not have enough time to explore. And one of the other things that I thought was really cool is Ableton can now generate things randomly for you. So I could have it generate a random clip. I can pick the number of steps. So now I just randomly generated a new kick drum pattern off of what we already had. And you can do that with, so the rhythm will do something more like drum related. It's just a rhythmic pattern of notes and velocities. Seed will randomly generate notes using adjustable pitch, duration, and velocity changes. So this is going to be something for more like a melody line or melodic content. It's pretty interesting. Let's take, for example, just this piano. And I'm going to insert a MIDI clip here and just click generate. And now you just instantly get a really random generation. I got a comment, is there still an arpeggiator in the MIDI effects section? Yes, the arpeggiator still exists, the standard one that you're used to over here. But this one is working in a clip basis. So it could be different from clip to clip versus putting the arpeggiator before your synth or your VST or whatever instrument you're using. So it's a little bit different in that regard. Going back to this, it's been really random for me. I haven't really figured out how to get something that I'd personally use right off the bat. But, you know, with any random generators, usually you got to kind of refine it yourself. So that's pretty game changing, I think. For those of you that are looking to do some stacks, you can create basic stacks. Let's delete all this. This is pretty cool. It's like a stepping ladder. And then you can go down or you can go up and down. So almost acting as if the arpeggiator, but just automatically drawing in those notes as an arpeggiator. One thing I've been noticing though, every time I change something here, it automatically brings back the draw mode. So you can turn, that's right here. You can turn it on and off by hitting the letter B, but every time I seem to do something in these, I'm back into the draw mode. I don't know if that's something that they did on purpose, but yeah, this is wild. You know, you have the rate. And you can get all the way down to 1 over 128. You can imagine that there's some cool cool tricks you could do with that. You could have some percussion rises and falls. You could have white noise rises and falls, and then you can adjust whatever you wanted by doing that. For those of you that are not true piano players, cool feature here that allows you to create stacks, which is basically chords. And so, see, I just generated a basic chord there. I can generate it again. I haven't seen what this really does, but oh yes, this is changing the inversion type. So you can, if you're not good with your inversions and not playing on the piano, you can just add inversions, switch inversions like this. So after you've generated the chord, it's pretty wild how this works. You can add more than one box as well. So you can add boxes here and play with these inversions. Like I said, I haven't got to play with this too much, but basically it's divided the clip into 4, and I'm just switching the inversion. I can change the notes. So it really just generated this MIDI for me and these chord structures. Now it's all in C, but I can change that right here. So it really is kind of designed to help the non-music theory person to kind of generate a lot more ideas without having to draw notes in, and it's interesting to me. Another big change that you'll notice is they have this little window right here where you can then just flip between the notes envelopes. I do remember in Live 11 getting lost sometimes when working with these drop downs here. So the envelopes have been moved here because they've added all these other new features. And it's pretty wild because at first I didn't notice it when I was going through things to try to get ready for this live stream. There's a question here that says, can you keep that in a certain scale? I believe that, well, first of all, yes, you can because you set the scale, but then I believe that's what this is going to help you do. You also still do have the individual scale right here per clip. So you could turn the scale on per clip. And if I want to stay in C minor or major, I can do that. You can do all the same things you did before. And this, I still haven't figured out how this relates. But from what I was reading, if you select clips, it's supposed to notify you if something's different than the scale you're working in. I haven't seen it pop up with a little asterisk in the corner of the clip that it's talking about. Maybe it's related to audio. It's not something that I had seen work yet for me. So more information on that later, but you can always work in the same scale by just keeping, specifically with the question, are you talking about generating the scale? Let me go back to that piano, because if you do, you can simply, let's see, these are all in the scale, and then I'm going to go back to the, you can get a little lost in here. It's a little crazy. So yes, you can, let's refresh this. Actually, no, this does not have scale. You just have to pick the scale you want. It's working in triads, as you see here. But then you can add inversions and keep adding the boxes. So it's a little wild, in my opinion. I think it's going to take some experimenting for me to really understand this, because I've never made a lot of music using generative chords like that. I've used things like Cthulhu, or I've played around with Scalar. But having it in Ableton is going to really help a lot of people out, I feel like. Other things that I wanted to take note of is you can now turn on, there's this new navigate window, and this will help you get to things quickly. What you can do is you can use tab to move focus. So like you can now just, if you're in the windows, you can hit tab to go over and tab back. You can use these Shift 2 will take you to, or was it Control 2? It will, yeah, take you to that area, and it will just focus it. So then you see this area is highlighted, the arrangement. Say, for example, I want to highlight the groove pool, then it highlights the groove pool. I haven't really found a use for that yet. So, you know, if I'm going to go to the menu, I usually will just click on it, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. There's so many new features in Ableton 12. It's pretty crazy. There's also a couple new instruments. There's this one thing called Meld, And I believe you have to own the full-blown version of Ableton to get this stuff. Whoops, let's put on a MIDI track. So this is what Meld looks like. Meld is a bitimbral macro oscillator synthesizer, and it comes with Live 12 Suite. So if you don't have the Suite version, you won't get this. But it's basically got 2 oscillators, and it's got these oscillator engines where you can control the shape and the tone. Let me give you a bit of the sound here. So here, for example, we're on A. There's 2 layers. And you can morph between all these waveforms. So it's not a stepping ladder style waveform selector, but there's different ones here that you can play with. Turn them on and off. And you get your standard ADSR, all your filtering, you know, get some pretty cool sounds this way. So this is a new synth. I'm gonna dig in a little bit and play with it. I'm not huge on the Ableton instruments myself. I use a lot of third-party synths, but that's one of the new ones. There's a new saturator called Roar, which I'll show it to you. This one was interesting to me because you have a drive knob. You can get, and then you have multiple stages to adjust the sound. So there's like an amount stage, the bias, which will hone in on where that amount is going to be centered. You have your filter, and one of the cool things I thought was this tone switch. So it gets a little gritty, but you can put it in parallel. So now you have 2 stages. You can put this in multi-band. You can put it in mid-side. So I got to read up on this one a little bit more. I really just kind of did a brief overview of Ableton 12 as a first look. That's the goal today, trying to kind of get an understanding of what's new, what's not, what's changed. Let's go over to the mixer view real quick and take a look at some of the things that have changed over here. First of all, one of the things, I'm going to go to my notes real quick. If you guys have questions, please do drop them in the chat. I can't be sure I'll be able to answer all of them. But I showed you the sample swapping, toggle clip view alongside device. I showed you that. Holding Alt and clicking clip view device will show, yep, tuning systems. Yeah, so regarding this tuning systems real quick, since I see this right here. This one, this supports what it's called Scala files or Scala files. I'm not familiar with that personally, but it allows you to use them in sets. So I guess if you use live to perform live, this is going to be something that will be new to you. I don't personally use Ableton Live to perform live. So if anybody knows about that, please do let me know in the comments. Any new features in the preferences? Yes, there are, and they're near the end of these notes, so I will be getting there shortly here. So they definitely changed the UI, as you see. There's been a lot of, it looks a little more futuristic. You notice there's those little curves on the meters here, and there's a couple new themes. We're going to get into that when we get into the preferences. Users can now, yeah, I showed you the history. That was one that I highlighted. I thought that was really cool. The clip view, the MIDI and audio editing parameters have been moved to the top of the MIDI note. I showed you that. MIDI clips editor view modes are as follows. Oh yes, there's something new with the Chance editor too. I don't know if a lot of you use Chance, but I think now what you can do, let me get to a MIDI clip and see if I can see it. With the Chance editor down here, you now have the ability, from what I read, to, yeah, notes displays the MIDI note editor and velocity Chance to randomize. There's so much to it. It's a little overwhelming, I got to be honest with you. And I really need to spend a lot of time with some of this. Going back over here, there's not a ton that's different with the arrangement view to me. I didn't notice a whole lot. Like I said, the biggest thing was just adding it right in here by clicking this little arrow. Which one was it? This one. No. Yeah, see, it takes a little getting used to, but you can do it right here. So there's the mixer, and notice how it's, like I said, with this screen, it's taking up a lot of space. That's doing the device and clip, and then this is the mixer right there. So there's a lot of changes to some of the devices. I know one of you was mentioning in the comments asking about the arpeggiator, and there's some changes to the arpeggiator. There's some changes to the chord, the envelope, MIDI, expression control, the LFO tool. There's some changes to the Max for Live devices, and operator, pitch, note length, all of these have changes. I'm not going to get into the specifics of all of those, but actually one of the most game-changing features that I was playing with earlier was this one, and I did not show you that yet. So let me just remember how it worked. There's this feature now where if you select your MIDI and you can automatically start slicing things. I think it was Option E. So you see how I did that? Command E, it automatically sliced it to my grid length. So if I make my grid bigger, I can select these notes, Option E, and it's going to do that. Now, if I hold Command Shift E, I can, oh, whoops, nope, that's not it. Alt Shift E, no. The commands are a little confusing. There's some really complicated ones now. Maybe it was Control Shift E. There's one where you can do it with the mouse and it'll start dividing everything in divisibles, even divisibles. So let's see. Where did I put that one? Yeah, I see your comments. They did change a lot. I want to show you this one. It's pretty cool, but there's 32 pages of changes here. So apologies if I forgot how to do it. I was playing with this stuff a little bit earlier today, and it is a lot. Okay, MIDI note editing operations. Yes, here it is right here. Okay, so the term of the new feature here is called split. And it'll divide a note into two or more parts by using either the mouse or the computer keyboard. So to split with the mouse, hold E, just E. So if I select these and hold E, you see the little 3 dots right there? I can then split wherever I select that. So I'm going to make the grid like this. And if I select this and just hold E, it's going to split it wherever you put it. So you can put it in any time. How long has this been out? It literally came out today. The beta's been out for a few months. I didn't play with the beta, but I did pre-order it. So I got my license dropped in today, and the download was available this morning. So I literally installed it this morning. You guys are getting a first look. This is my first time playing with it. But I do want to show you this because I thought this was really cool. So I'm just going to consolidate all this again. And so chop with the mouse, hold E, Alt, and then, so let me select this, E, and then Alt. And now you get this chop amount. So look at this. If I go up, it's just going to start chopping by divisibles, which I thought was really cool. It's interesting because I've never seen anything like that. And you can get some pretty wild combinations. It's working off the grid. So maybe you could go to a triplet grid, for example, and then you could chop in triplets, you know, chop different sections, take things in and out, and get some really wild patterns and combinations that way. You can still chop with the keyboard. There's a new feature called Join. We'll create a single note from all selected notes that have the same pitch. That's Command J on the Mac. So let's see, Command J. We all know the standard one And then span, fit to time range. Yeah, that was another cool one. So let's take, for example, if I have this selection and I wanted to Command Alt J, it's going to just automatically extend it to my selection. You know, there was always the legato button, which will take it to the edge of the clip, but this is a new one. So it's basically fit to the time range, and it's called span. So it's Command Alt J. So they've thought of a lot of cool time-saving key commands and new tools that I think can open up a whole new world of possibility. I'm going to go into the preferences next because I've given a pretty decent overview of some of the new features that I've found. And you'll see here, like I said, a lot of this stuff is the same. I have some notes on this one as well. Let me get to that. You guys have any other questions while we're here? Max for live. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's my notes on the mixer. Sorry for jumping around, but let me just make sure I didn't forget anything important here. The overall design of the mixer has been updated to improve visibility. Mixer faders now have larger handles, which have all been moved to the left of the meters. The meters now provide better controls and have rounded corners. The maximum height, which I showed you earlier, of the mixer panel has been increased. So you can get really high with the faders now. Look at that. That's pretty cool. The meter ballistics for peak and RMS have been improved. So that's another one that can be handy for those of you that are having a hard time reading meters or trying to mix better. But there's not a ton of changes on the mixer. So I think that we will get into the preferences. And what I did notice was different in here was, you know, there's a couple new themes. You have these themes right here. There's the classic ones. I didn't even look at all of these. That one's interesting. But I'm more, you know, they have this new appearance thing. I'm more of a default person, and I just keep it pretty dark. I used to use the, they have these new tones, though. I used to use the light one way back in the day, but it's a little bright. There's a lot of the same stuff. One of the new features that I did notice and that I read about was in the record section, but I didn't actually see it. There's different options for how it records, whether you are using your monitoring in, auto, or off. I didn't find it in my preferences, but this sheet here from Ableton says it's here, so I really got to dig further into that. But I'm usually recording with latency-free audio anyway if I am doing some stuff. I will mention while we're here, it's kind of important that when you first get live, check your content locations. I noticed that it changed the content locations for my factory packs. It left my user library where I leave mine, but I had to remove my factory packs to my external sound library. So if you use external sound libraries and you want to make sure that all of your stuff is where you left it in Live 11, then go here and check that out. Another thing that I noticed is most all my preferences were pretty much the same. There's this one preference that I personally hate. I don't know why they do it, and it's right here. Create fades on clip edges. I turn this off. I mentioned it in previous videos of mine on my Ableton videos, and it creates this tiny little fade that just gets annoying. So if you have samples that go to the end of the clip, it's going to have this weird little fade, and it just makes your loops off to me. So make sure you turn that one off if it's on. Other than that, I think this one was new, draw mode with pitch lock. But Ableton has an extensive 32-page document that shows all of the new features, all of the bugs they fixed, and everything that's changed. And yeah, so that's pretty much my first look at Ableton Live 12. I think the most game-changing thing for me was some of the new MIDI editing features. Obviously, the browser is huge. The sheer fact that you can use this AI search to find similar sounds was super crazy to me. The fact that I can now organize my stuff, because like I said, I started doing that. Let's clear this out. I started organizing things in this fashion, where I was copying my sample packs and putting them into folders by type, basically. But I'd still leave the sample pack name. But if I want to look at all the kick drums that I have, I could do that. It's a lot of work. No different from having to tag all your stuff here. So this is probably something that we're going to all need to spend time doing. Stop making music for a bit. I like that you can add the creator here. There's a lot of interesting things. It's a little overwhelming, like I said, but I think once you get used to it, it'll be better. There's also this little tuning thing here that's new. I haven't even explored that. But yeah, that is a brief overview. Let's see if we have any other questions here. I have Roar is cool. Yeah, it seems cool. Any new features and preferences? There are, I couldn't find my notes. There's so many pages here. There are a couple new features, and we went over some of them. What style do I make? I make a lot of house music, various styles of house music. I produce for a couple different styles, actually, ranging from house, tech house. I used to do some new disco, deep house. I'm doing some progressive house, Afro house. I do bass house for different artists, different styles. So I work on a lot of stuff. I was originally a hip hop and R&B producer, which I still do some hip hop sometimes. It's been fun because I've been able to take a lot of my tricks from the house stuff into the hip hop production, which I think, you know, it definitely gives you a different edge in that regard, because there's a lot of crazy tricks in the house music stuff. But then it's cool to be able to take some of the hip hop tricks to the house music world with, say, sample chopping, and because I'm an old MPC user. So once again, thank you guys all for tuning in. This is my first live stream on this channel. It's very new to me. And let's see what else we got here. I've been importing custom skins. You can get some cool colors. That sounds interesting. You'll have to put me up on that. Is the new search bar just basically Command F searches the whole library? Yeah, same thing. You can hit Command F, search the whole library, and get the same result. But you can also then filter down. So I could just start picking different things and filtering. I haven't got to play with this too much, but you can hold a command and pick lots of different ones. So thanks, Shoni. Yeah, Fresh, FRESHCOBAR is one of my aliases. And yeah, any other questions that you guys might have? How many of you guys ordered Ableton Live 12 already, or are thinking about it after watching this live stream? Thank you. I see the clapping. Appreciate you all. Well, if there's no other questions, then I think I'm not ready. Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I'm working on so much music. It's almost hard to try to stop and have to organize and do all this stuff. But, you know, little by little, I've been working on some sample packs for NOS Recordings, which is the label you can find a lot of my music on. Been going through and getting stuff ready. I've been working on a Moog Sub 37 bassline pack, which has, right now it has 65 bass lines in there that I made. If you guys are interested in that, please let me know in the comments. I've got some cool stuff in the making, but getting Ableton Live 12 might kind of throw me off in a different direction. Yeah, you do got to have the same Ableton version if you're collabing with people. You know, that actually brings up a good point. Let's take a look at the export audio video real quick. And see, I haven't even looked at this. So it looks pretty much the same. I don't see any differences here. But if you are collabing with people and you're not on the same Ableton, you can always just export stems. I have some cool videos on that, or just drop me a comment after the stream. If you have questions on how to do that, I'll leave you some links. But yeah, that's pretty much my first look at Ableton Live 12. I think it's pretty game-changing what you can do. Key takeaways, once again, for me, were the new MIDI editing tools, the browser features. The fact that you can open the device and clip in the same view, I thought that was pretty cool. The fact that you can open up the mixer as well, so you can kind of have everything in your face all at once. And these new tools here are crazy to me as well. I got to get more into them. But overall, I think Ableton did a great job. It's kind of been a long time coming. I think they kind of listened to a lot of what users were looking for. And it is a very game-changing DAW. It's not your standard one. So exporting video out of Ableton is terrible. Yes, exporting video out of Ableton. I've never actually done that. Any video work I've done, like for Stance Socks or things like that, where I've put audio to it, I do it all in Pro Tools. And I'll usually just give them the audio and let their video guys handle the video portion. But it's nice to have the video running while you're working. I did this Major League Baseball, Topps baseball cards, Stance Socks thing, and it would have been a nightmare not to have the video running with. I think Ableton can do that too, but actually no. Has anybody ever? I don't think Ableton can import a video and have it playing with the track. Maybe Ableton 12 can. This might be the one that fully gets me into Ableton. Yeah, Steel, what's up, man? Thanks you guys for joining the stream. Yes, this Ableton is pretty game-changing. It is wild. And I know we were just talking on the phone. You just got that new MPC, so I don't know how this compares, but also, if you are an Ableton Push user, there's a lot of new features that it works well with Push that I didn't even get into because I don't own Push. But hopefully, as I dive deeper, I'll be getting some more videos out for you guys. And remember, you can always catch my videos on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. I've been making some shorts, so I'll probably be making some shorts on Ableton Live 12. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, cool. If you do put a video in the Ableton window, it'll pop up and show it. I swear I tried that with that stance video and it didn't work, but maybe I did something wrong. So that's good to know. Thanks, Hang Time. Go check out Hang Time's music. Really good. I've done some mastering for him. Really, really good stuff. And thanks to Jeff Corrigan, my video guy and video expert, who's helped me kind of put together this whole video setup over here that you see. So he's been pushing me to stream. So has my boy W Steel in the chat, W Steel 1904. He's like been pushing me to get on this. So kind of an impromptu one, testing the waters. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any other questions before we get out of here, please let me know in the comments. If you guys want to see more of these, let me know. I'm thinking of starting to do these a little bit more on a regular basis. And we are also going to be doing these under NOS Recordings. Maybe show you some of my productions. I've got all the releases done for the whole year. We've got about 30 releases ready to go for you for all of 2024. So really excited to share with you. If you guys want to hear some unreleased music, let me know. Make sure you follow me, Fresco Bar Music, on all social channels. Also, you could find me at NOS Recordings on social channels, and then obviously my Distinct Mastering stuff, which I kind of do more of the educational content on Distinct Mastering and offer the mixing and mastering services. So if there's no other questions, thank you all for tuning in, and